net for us. Yeah. So there's also faith-based tourism. Here locally, there's churches that I'm aware of that take cruises ever so often, churches that do travel, and so on. So we can go after those niches, they'll come. You also have sports tourism. My wife and I recently just co-sponsored the St. Maarten Bodybuilders Association, where in October, as an example, 28 countries will be represented on St. Maarten. Over 300 athletes coming to St. Maarten. They'll be staying at Royal Palm, Atrium, Flamingo, some area, in that area. Those are some things that happens all the time. We need to continue to promote that, but not only in the season, but during the lower months as well. Something that we have in St. Maarten, not as illustrious as Dominica or St. Lucia, but I visited Basil Richardson in St. Peter's. You know, I even took pictures with them up there. Ecotourism. We're not full-fledged. It's a quasi-eco agriculture that people are turned on to. They want. We can promote this more as well. So those are some of the markets. Those are not the only markets we go after in terms of expanding our year-round tourism. However, the question was diversify. How can we diversify? My vision, dream is to go after investors, so we don't need to lure investors to come to invest here in St. Maarten, and to apply Walt Disney's concept. Walt Disney's concept, of course, when he looked and he saw in that swamp land, he saw opportunities. Others came and they saw alligators, like, this is no good. But he was a visionary. And his intention was, if I can build this and I can get kids, and I can go after kids. If I get the kids, I'll get the parents. If I get the parents, I'll get the grandparents. Not only one, but in the lifetime, persons who go to Walt Disney, they want to go back a second time. So you get that family at least 2 times. On top of that, that child who grows up enjoyed it so much, want to take his child and our children and so forth and so on. So on St. Maarten, why reinvent the wheel? It's called best practices. So we get investors to come and invest in St. Maarten in theme amusement parks. They can make it as elaborate, water parks or whatever. Persons you know, I know, from some of the islands may never qualify and get visas to go to America, but they'll be able to come to St. Maarten. In terms of the niches, one opportunity we have as well is the American University and also our St. Maarten University. 2 things happen. I remember when we have a nephew off to college in the States, we would visit. So we visit, it's a net contributor to their economy. Similarly, in the reverse here, when we have American students at the American University and what happened to Stacia and the other university here in Colby, and our own university here in St. Maarten, which has to be developed to the point where we attract people from the region. So twofold happen here. So we know it's a no-brainer. Persons attending universities, their families, loved ones, friends will come. No strain on the economy, but a net contributor. As I said, whether it's medical, sports, faith-based education, I said agriculture, quasi-eco, because we're not fully in that area. But those are some of the niches we need to go after, and those are net contributors to St. Maarten. Similarly, in terms of the diversification, a theme park, amusement park will do wonders first. Residents will benefit from it, evening and weekends. People from the region who may never qualify to get a visa to go to the US will certainly come to St. Maarten because why, Lester? We're geographically located. I mean, we are so geographically located, thank God for that. Also, the existing tourists, whether it's cruise-based tourism and or the stay-over tourists, will certainly make use of that events and activities. Also, ultimately, with all of that, it will create jobs.
What about protection of the workers? Because we are a tourism-based place, but at the same time, our workers, we have many, I've heard of some hotels bringing people from other places and so forth coming here, and what happened to, let's say, our locals who need jobs. Now, once these jobs start coming in, we start diversifying. When we have investors, some of the investors might put stipulations like, hey, you know what, I want to bring my own people. Now, what are we going to do to protect ours, the people that are here, from stuff like that?
Well, yeah. To add to that also, being in the hotel industry, did you see it as a lack? Because most of them say it's been a lack of training for the locals, so they're bringing experts, they said. Is that really the case?
Again, mistakes have happened. We are much older in the tourism industry than Aruba. The reason I use Aruba, because Aruba is a success model. Unfortunately for us, fortunately for Aruba, I remember one of the investors where I worked, Kupakoi, it shows the maturity of that investor. He invested in his managers. So we were sponsored and sent off to Aruba, several of us. In my case, I was sent to Aruba, Hotel Vauxhall, Bushiri. The point I'm saying is that St. Maarten missed the boat. With our tourism industry and how successful we have been, we have missed the boat in having a school, and that is unfortunate. And as far as resorts or in hotels bringing in persons from other islands, whatever, I believe, and I don't have the details, but I've heard enough about what have happened. On St. Maarten to work, you need two things if you're not from here. One, you need a residence permit, and you need a work permit. If persons came to work and they are working, I believe that didn't happen outside of the knowledge of government, whoever was there as government, because you need a residence permit and a work permit. Now, in terms of protection to our employees moving forward, 10-10-10, we can't go back. We're going forward. In the past, unfortunately, the Constellation of the Netherlands Antilles, Curaçao was in charge of immigration. Curaçao was in charge of labor and so forth and so on. No longer the case. All politics is local. All responsibilities, lands, begins and ends here in St. Maarten. What's happening, Lester, is that we may see a change in the ministry setup. What may happen is education ministry might be married to labor, to economic. So you'll see the person in charge of education, the same minister, might also be in charge of the economy, tourism, economic affairs, telephone, and transportation. And the reason for that, there's been a gap. All ministers have been so interested in their own area. Walls were constructed, so they cooperated, but not fully. So what's going to happen now, you're going to have a situation where education will know what's happening on the work market. Our students that is going off to study, we know the areas they're studying for, and we know when they're coming back, because let's not pretend. We have an issue with people coming to St. Maarten from other islands, not just because they have nothing else to do. They're coming to St. Maarten because we have a very, very robust economy. I mean, people come here, they're driven, they have aspiration. They come here and God in heaven knows how they make ends meet, because they send home the money for their children, family, and so on. That's why they come. So we would now regulate in terms of the work permit in two ways. We'll charge a higher fee as well as put terms on it. So one term in terms of a year or 3 years, with the intention that when our students coming back, they'll be able to find job. Use me as an example as a St. Maartener. Working my way up from busboy to general manager, it was a time when you had more work. So the pendulum was on the other side. So you had more work, less persons. So and so on. So you had more opportunities. Many persons made it because of opportunities at a time. So what's going to happen now? We will limit the immigration status in terms of persons coming in and getting work permits, so that we can have more of our own get in a job. Lester, if we don't take care of our own, who will take care of them?
So can you summarize your vision for St. Maarten?
My vision for St. Maarten, first of all, it is a St. Maarten where we no longer have that Holland oversight over us, dictating to us. whether it's in the area of justice, whether it's the area of finance, as one of the areas. Because we would have grown up and developed and moving in such a way where I say it's about peace, prosperity, and progress. That this island will be a peaceful place. This island will continue to experience prosperity and progress for our people and for those who come. Now, what's going to happen is we will grow up where we will take on responsibilities, such as we will have a unit where it pertains to the budget of the island. Everything revolves around the budget. Nothing happens outside of the budget. We will no longer need a CFT to tell us whether the budget is acceptable or not, because we would have created talented local economists, talented local accountants, talented local financiers who would have looked at the budget and helped direct that area. 1. 2, we would also grow and develop where we will have our own lawyers, our own judges, our own teachers, and so forth and so on, where even our culture is being passed on to our children and others who come to visit us, because right now we follow everything and anything, because most of the teachers are from elsewhere. Nothing wrong with it, because we at a time needed and we didn't plan properly. The mistakes of the past should not continue to be repeated. We need to plan so that our people, we know the areas what we want. Teachers, we need local lawyers, we need local judges, local economists, accountants. But I always maintain, not everyone is born to be academic. I will never leave out the folks that are technical. I will never leave out the folks that are athletic. We need to make provision and create facilities for our people to excel in the areas of their gifting and their talents. And I envision St. Maarten, where we have grown up and taken on most of our responsibilities. And the reason why I said also, Lester, in the 80s, when I worked at Koopakoy Treasure Island, we wanted and we were about to entertain and go into the all-inclusive business. So they sent myself and a gentleman, William Duzon, we go way back together. They sent us to Jamaica for 6 weeks so we could have learned the all-inclusive concept. And the one thing I learned about Jamaica during my 6 weeks in Jamaica, all key positions were filled by Jamaicans. But we need to grow up to that place where we can have our key positions, like on the airport, like at GB, at the Windward Island Bank, certain banks, be filled by locals.
This is on the side of the foreign workers.
Yes.
I've heard it from several of my friends who they aren't from here. Say it's the same thing. I get my work permit, and then the next month it's up, literally.
That's a fact.
Lying, because it's impossible if I apply for something and then I gotta go apply for it again. So that means just say I do agree with you. Hey, you know what? Let's make it a higher a higher fee. Now, what if they go and apply for their own selves? That means you gotta pay, they say, maybe $900 to $1,000 every couple of months for something that expires just about.
But you didn't hear what I just said to him though. The fee needs to be paid by whom?
The employees.
The employer, not the employee. You're also correct by the length of time it takes to get the permit. That is being addressed, so that permit will be done fast track, much faster. So the employer pays for it, that permit is released much faster. What will happen and must happen, we can't cut our nose off to spite the face, so that it has to be done on a measurable phase. It has to be phased in, phased out. So when you're phasing out the amount of work permits, you're also phasing in where the fee is higher, but more of your resident locals are getting the job, because then that way it's workable, so the employee doesn't get hurt. At the same time, you want to also give incentives to residents who would start up new companies, but their companies must be unique, at least from my perspective. Unique because it's not the same everyone open the same chicken leg and giant cake or a shop, but it's unique so that in that way, persons who have that unique idea gets certain incentives. Because I'm a believer of during the Clinton's time, you had a lot of small businesses that opened. And what it did for you, it hired 2 persons here, 3 persons there. It's all about keeping that economic wheel turning. And we need to make that, create facilities and possibilities. And again, St. Maarten is so unique that we have, look at our cruise tourism. This year we're going to hit over 2 million, going ahead of St. Thomas. I mean, our airport, state-of-the-art airport. I mean, right now I think we're hoping for work with Dominica. That's the beginning. We're going to get other islands to work with us, in addition to St. Bart's, Anguilla, and so on. Because we are that hub. At some point, we will be able to get pre-immigration clearance if we keep at it, you know. So that Juliana Airport and the harbor through transshipment, I mean, it's a no-brainer. At St. Maarten, and those are, again, mentioning that as other areas of diversification, and that's going to tremendously benefit us. There's another opportunity in the fiber. Fiber is, again, an area where you can do, whether it's the call centers, it's a tremendous amount of things you can do with fiber optic, but we need to take advantage of these areas. And that's what's going to happen more and more. But let me hasten to say this also. I use it a lot. As an example, Venezuela, extremely rich country, but because of poor leadership and decision, I mean, how can you people suffer and have your currency be so devalued when you have all that oil? I mean, Guyana, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, I mean, these are countries, in terms of their natural resources, that is much more richer than St. Maarten. However, because in the past, at some point, because of lack of good leadership and lack of proper decisions, those persons have suffered, continue to suffer in some instances, and need to migrate, go other places for better opportunities. And that's what it's all about.
Things that summarize everything. Why would you say vote for Jules James August 29th?
Yeah, I would, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be interviewed and to answer questions. What I would say to the people who vote for Jules James is that my career, my years have prepared me for just this, to make decisions. It's about making decisions and using your judgment to make the right decisions. We have to put persons in charge who have some understanding of business. It's about economics, you know, having some business savvy. My background is from the private sector, where we make decisions, where we understand return on the investment, where you understand that if you don't do it in a certain way, you'll have to close up shop. You can't spend more than you have in terms of revenue coming in. I always say to people, vote for Jules James because I'm accessible, I'm approachable, I'm accountable, I'm determined, decisive, and dependable. You have a person there that you can approach, a person there that who you can talk to, but who will make decisions for the long term, not for the short term, who is not myopic, who has St. Maarten at heart. It's not been, will never be about me or self-enrichment, it's about St. Maarten. And I know politicians say one thing or the other, but I've said to the people, it's not about empty promises, it's about hope. And the reason why I say hope, if I can make it, starting from a busboy to a general manager, I say, that's hope for you. You can make it, St. Maarten. But you need to apply yourself, and there's opportunities. And I said, vote for me because I will put you first. And I thank you, and I thank you, Lester, for the opportunity.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.